StudyIQ IAS, अब तैयारी हुई अफोर्डेबल।
Hello everyone. I hope this message finds you fit and fine. My name is Shashank Tyagi. Welcome you all to our contest series on Indian Polity based on Lakshmikant. कई बार मन में सवाल आता होगा कि इस प्रिपरेशन को शुरू तो कर दिया है, मजा भी आ रहा है, तभी आप इस वीडियो में हैं, सीखने को तो मिल रहा है, लेकिन क्या उतना पढ़ा जा रहा है जितना इस एग्जाम को क्लियर करने के लिए जरूरी है? क्योंकि अल्टीमेट ऑब्जेक्टिव तो क्या है? योर नेम इन मेरिट लिस्ट। तो देखिए, कंटेंट तो सेम है, लेकिन कंटेंट को यूज करने की हमें स्किल डेवलप करनी है। कैसे होगी वो स्किल डेवलप? पहले तो भाई टाइम से हर एक सब्जेक्ट का कंटेंट तैयार होना चाहिए। अगर आप वो कर रहे हैं ठीक है, लेकिन इफ यू वांट टू टेक हेल्प तो आप StudyIQ की हेल्प ले सकते हैं। जो StudyIQ का P2I प्रोग्राम है, आप StudyIQ ऐप या वेबसाइट पर देख सकते हैं। P2I मतलब प्रीलिम्स से लेकर इंटरव्यू तक का एक प्रोग्राम। तो ये एक प्रोग्राम के अंदर 4 फेजेस हैं। तो उस 4 फेजेस के थ्रू पहले ही फेज में आपका कंप्लीट सिलेबस हो जाएगा। तो इट इज लाइक द बेसिक थिंग, ये तो करना ही है। इसके बाद आता है कि हमें स्किल्स डेवलप करनी है, यानी कि उस कंटेंट का प्रीलिम्स में इस्तेमाल हो सके, उस कंटेंट का मेंस में इस्तेमाल हो सके, यानी कि आंसर राइटिंग। फिर हमें असेसमेंट चाहिए बीच बीच में, जिससे कि हमें कमियां पता लगती रहें। तो इसके लिए भी P2I में आपको प्रीलिम्स मेंस दोनों की टेस्ट सीरीज दी जा रही है। वीकेंड पर भी टेस्ट होते हैं, प्लस डेली मेंस आंसर राइटिंग होती है। तो आपको नहीं लगता अगर इतना कोई मेहनत आपके साथ कर ले तो आप करना तो चाहते हैं, बट एक पाथवे नहीं है, तो P2I प्रोग्राम वो पाथवे आपके लिए साबित हो सकता है। तो टेक हेल्प ऑफ दिस। फिर आपके मन में कभी कभी जो डाउट आता है उसको ढूंढने के लिए आपका काफी समय जाया हो जाता है। जाया इसलिए कह रहा हूं क्योंकि हो सकता है उस डाउट को ढूंढने के लिए आपने 1 घंटा लगा दिया, क्योंकि उससे एसोसिएटेड काफी सारी चीजें नई नई पता लगती चली गई आपको। ऐसे में इस टाइम को रिड्यूस कर सकते हैं आप। एग्जाम ओरिएंटेड क्या उस डाउट से रिलेटेड नॉलेज आपको चाहिए, वो आपको एक पर्सनल मेंटोर बता सकता है। तो इस कोर्स में फैकल्टीज तो आपके साथ हैं ही, इस पूरी जर्नी में आपको पर्सनल मेंटोर दिया जा रहा है, आप उसकी हेल्प लीजिए। आप कॉल व्हाट्सएप पर कभी भी उनके साथ कनेक्ट हो सकते हैं। उनका नंबर आपको इस कोर्स में स्पेसिफिकली आपको अलॉट होगा। तो अल्टीमेटली आपका टाइम बचेगा, कॉन्फिडेंस आएगा प्रिपरेशन में। फिर जैसे आप प्रीलिम्स क्लियर कर लेते हैं तो उसके बाद मेंस रेजिडेंशियल प्रोग्राम, ये इसका सेकंड फेज मतलब थर्ड फेज कहिए, क्योंकि पहले फेज में फाउंडेशन है, फिर सक्सेस इन प्रीलिम्स है, फिर MRP है मेंस रेजिडेंशियल प्रोग्राम। फिर उसके लिए आप दिल्ली बुला लिया जाता है आपको। यहाँ पर आप मतलब जो फूडिंग लॉजिंग एवरीथिंग इज टेकन केयर बाय StudyIQ। और उसके बाद फिर रिगरस प्रिपरेशन होती है आपकी मेंस के हिसाब से, यानी कि हर एक जो आपका पेपर है, GS है, लैंग्वेज है, essay है, हर एक की तैयारी यहीं पर हम आपको अपने सामने कराते हैं। उसके बाद जैसे आप मेंस क्लियर करते हैं तो इंटरव्यू गाइडेंस प्रोग्राम, वहाँ पर आपके कोहोर्ट्स बनते हैं, जिसमें डिस्कशन के थ्रू जो आपके अदर एस्पिरेंट्स हैं, जो आपके साथ इंटरव्यू देने वाले हैं, तो आप अपनी स्किल्स को पॉलिश करते हैं। साथ में ब्यूरोक्रेट्स, फॉर्मर टॉपर्स, ये सब फैकल्टीज आपको मिलकर गाइड करते हैं। फाइनली व्हेन यू आर थ्रू इनटू द मेरिट लिस्ट, देन फिर आपको लगता है कि हाँ, इट वाज ऑल वर्थ इट। मिलते हैं आपसे क्लासेस में, ख्याल रखिए। जय हिंद। Today we need to talk about interstate relations. But before we jump into the chapter itself, I want you to relate with this topic. Why we need good relations between different states in India? What India stands to lose if these conflicts persist and there's no effective mechanism to deal with it. Now think and share. Yeah, you should think. Some of you might be thinking, sir, what kind of conflict you're talking about? Is it some armed conflict between states? No. Keep arms aside. Now think. Brainstorm. The most popular conflict between these states, you can say, is sharing of water from rivers, which they are sharing. And this is not a new dispute, okay? It was prevalent in British time as well, between different provinces. Like there was a Travancore province and Madras presidency, means Madras as a province. Now the point is, if there is water dispute, states are not having consensus on how much water need to be released to other state. Now, what is going to be the impact? Don't you think if there's no mechanism, then one state, for serving its own interest, may overuse the water from this river basin, not allowing enough water to actually go into other state. Don't you think it is going to impact the life of farmers there, impact the growth of industries there who are dependent on water from this river basin? Now, water is one. What else do you can think of? Come on. Can you think of dispute with respect to trade? For example, if Uttar Pradesh government has made a law that any product which is being manufactured from Gujarat, Maharashtra, Madhya Pradesh, and then it is going to be sold in Uttar Pradesh territory, then we are going to impose some 30% additional tax. Don't you think it is going to create problem? What is going to happen with the industries there who are having, you can say, a sense of free trade until now, because we are one nation? But due to this 30% additional tax on specific states, don't you think it would be considered discriminatory in nature? Right? So there may be dispute related to trade, which is going to hamper the livelihood of many people and put a limit on the growth, what we can do, what these states can achieve together. Now, what other dispute you can think of? Come on, think. Laws, public orders, acts. For example, if Uttar Pradesh government has made some law, although that law is going to be applicable within the territory of Uttar Pradesh, but if some citizen from Madhya Pradesh and that citizen for the job purpose is living in this territory, and that law has been, you can say, flouted, and that person came into conflict with that law, and now that person has went back to Madhya Pradesh. So can you say that now that law of Uttar Pradesh is not going to be applicable on that person? No, you can't say that. Otherwise there will be conflict. Right? So, means there should be acceptance, faith, credit. There should be full faith and credit with respect to laws, public orders, and acts of different states. Right? Otherwise there will be conflict. Right? What else you can think of? Come on. You are free to think around. And conflict is most of the time you can say favorite topic of the people. People are interested in conflict. Now, fourth, can you think of that there may be, you can say, need of consensus or multiple opinions on matters which are with respect to state? For example, there are matters in state subject, okay? And it may be possible that Uttar Pradesh government is having different law and Madhya Pradesh's government is having different law on the same subject which is mentioned state list. But if these two states make different law, different provision, then it is somehow hampering a particular section or particular sector. It may be economic sector, it may be social sector. So if they come in consensus, then I think this will actually create a better, you can say, better positioning. Right? So it means dispute with respect to matters in state list. Sometimes these conflicts are also with state as well. But today we need to talk about interstate. Interstate. That is why we are talking about it. Right? Means a law made by a state on a matter which is mentioned state list. But if it is compromising the interest of another state, then there should be some solution in this regard. Right? For example, policy with respect to electricity, right? So there should be some coordination there. So I hope now you have some broad, you can say, idea, yeah, these are the kind of popular disputes between state, and there are ramifications if they are not resolved timely. Now the point is, what our constitution says. What is the priority of our constitution? My friends, our constitution has priority that there should be comity, cordial relations between different states. And that is why mechanism for adjudication of interstate disputes are enshrined in Indian Constitution. We are going to talk about them. Article 262. Mutual coordination means there should be coordination through interstate councils. As I told you, policies made by one state hampering another state. So there should be interstate council, right, for better coordination. We are going to talk about it. Article 263. There should be mutual recognition of public acts laws. I gave you the example of Uttar Pradesh government, Madhya Pradesh, right? And there should be freedom of interstate trade, commerce, that is necessary. So it means these four pillars are being addressed by our constitution. Now the question is how? Address to hai, but how? Which bodies are there? Which laws are there? Right? What are the provisions? That we need to understand. So let's first hit the topic of interstate water sharing dispute. Right? So we have Article 262, which says that Parliament is having power to actually provide adjudication of dispute, water dispute between different states. And what kind of water dispute we can talk about? Use, distribution and control of waters, right? Because consider this is Punjab and this is Haryana, and river is coming from, say, flowing from Punjab towards Haryana. Don't connect this with Satluj, okay, Satluj Canal project. Okay, I'm just giving another example. So now, if Punjab stops the river, river flow, control, majority part of that water, then it may actually hamper the prospects of farmers in Haryana, right? So in this case, who is going to come into picture? Parliament is going to come into picture by exercising power given by our constitution in Article 262, right? Now there's an important twist here, and UPSC may ask question from there. Parliament may also provide that neither the Supreme Court or any other court is to exercise jurisdiction with respect to any such dispute or complaint. Now some of you might be surprised. Why is it mentioned like this? Means Parliament can actually sideline Supreme Court or any other court to not execute their jurisdiction into these cases. But these are so important matter, water dispute, and Parliament can sideline them, Supreme Court, High Court, and other courts. Yes, Article 262 says that Parliament may, but my friends, the word is may. Parliament may, okay, कर सकता है, right? So by exercising this power in Article 262, our Parliament constitutes interstate water dispute tribunals. And now these tribunals are responsible for adjudicating, means resolving, pronouncing judgment in these water dispute between different states. But now the reality is that law says that yes, the decisions of this interstate water dispute tribunal are binding. But now Supreme Court in past has gone out of the way and accepted appeal of state against the decision made by interstate water dispute tribunal. Now some legal luminaries ask this question from Supreme Court. Sir, how can you accept such a case if it is clearly mentioned in Interstate Water Dispute Act deriving power from Article 262 that if it is clearly mentioned these reasons are binding, then why you are entertaining the appeal? So Supreme Court says no, our duty is to provide justice, and there can be an element of error in any stage, so we can actually accept it. But now some of you might be thinking, okay, Supreme Court gave its interpretation, Supreme Court is free to do that. But why in the first case this is mentioned that Parliament may sideline? Reason is that if these kind of matters are actually raised at any other court, then it will actually take long time. Although these matters are taking long time already, but if appeal or this matter is actually entertained in any court, then it will take longer time, because appeal and appeal and appeal. then review, right? So that is why this provision was added. Now, using power of Article 262, we have two provisions. Number one, River Boards Act 1956, Interstate Water Disputes Act 1956. So first let's talk about River Boards Act. You can see river board word is mentioned. Consider Ganga River, Narmada River, Krishna Godavari. So if Krishna River is passing through multiple states, then what if a board is created by central government and the CMs of these states who are sharing water from Krishna River are made member of it? And the purpose would be for regulation and development of these river basin, right? So it will actually reduce the chances of dispute, right? So provide for establishment of a river board for regulation and development. Please remember it. Now, there's a catch here. Central government can establish a river board on the request of states concerned. Okay? The word is central government. It's not parliament. UPSC actually can make a statement that parliament can actually establish a river board. So this power is not with parliament, this power is with central government. Parliament has already done its part when parliament actually created this River Boards Act. This was created by parliament. And exercising power which is mentioned in River Boards Act, it says that central government is having power to create a specific river board. So I hope now difference is clear to you. Parliament made the act exercising power mentioned in Article 262, and this act mentioned that for making a specific river board for a specific river, then central government is having this power. Clear? Now, example, Godavari River Management Board and Krishna River Management Board. Now, second provision is interstate water dispute. Now, empower the central government, again central government, because act has already been made by parliament, to set up an ad hoc means temporary. For example, there's a Godavari water dispute. So there will be tribunal on this, and the purpose is just resolve this dispute and pronounce your award. Award means decision, and then your job is done. Okay? So it means for adjudicating interstate water dispute. Now decision of this tribunal is final and binding on the parties. So this is mentioned in Interstate Water Dispute Act 1956 that this is final binding. And that is why I was saying that some legal luminaries was questioning the Supreme Court, why you are accepting appeal when law says this, right? So tribunal will have power of civil court, means they can actually ask for any proof, any evidence, conduct studies, ask any department to actually present before them, right? Regarding this particular case, make schemes for implementation of decisions. How the decision is going to be implemented, the scheme can also be made by this Interstate Water Dispute Tribunal. Clear? Now these are some examples of interstate water dispute tribunals. You need not to cram these, okay? Now comes second part, that is interstate councils, mentioned in Article 263. So as I told you, that there may be some matters, some areas where more cooperation, coordination is required. And there comes interstate council in picture. So it specifies the duties that can be assigned with it. Means with it what? Interstate council. So what the purpose is? First point is inquiring and advising on disputes. It means there may be other disputes as well. Na? Water dispute is just one dispute. I told you there can be many disputes. So inquire into those disputes and advise. Second is investigate and discuss subjects on which states and the center and states have common interest. As I told you, that Uttar Pradesh government cannot make a law which can actually adversely impact the interest of Madhya Pradesh government. This, if such thing happens, then this matter can be raised at the level of interstate council. Okay, so here it is dispute, inquiring and actually advising on dispute. Here we are investigating and discussing subjects, making recommendations upon any subject, particularly for the better coordination of policy and action, that they can work in coordinated manner. This can be discussed and recommended at the level of interstate council. So basically there are 3 points dispute, subject and recommendation with regard to better coordination of policy and action with it. Okay, so it is quite easy to remember. Now, another important area where UPSC can play. In case of interstate water disputes, I told you that its decisions are final and binding, right? And I also told you Parliament may exclude Supreme Court or any other court for exercising their jurisdiction in this regard. In what regard? Interstate water dispute, right? But in case of interstate council, twist is that their working is complementary in nature with that of Supreme Court. Means on the same matter, Supreme Court can actually act altogether. So council's decisions are actually advisory in nature. Means these people, these member states, interstate council is made on this particular issue. So they are part of that and they are advising, right? When it comes to Supreme Court, its decisions are binding, right? Now Article 263 has been used by President, and we have this example: Central Council on Health, Central Council of Local Government and Urban Development. Purpose was that these are a matter of importance, there can be dispute and this may be important subject. So recommendations are provided. Now establishment of interstate council. So as I told you, President established it. Now just remember what we discussed in center-state relations, 4th video, where I discussed recommendations of important commissions. In Sarkaria Commission, I mentioned that they suggested that there should be a permanent interstate council, permanent. Now, taking into consideration the recommendation, we have some example. For example, Janata Dal government, where VP Singh was Prime Minister, so they actually established an interstate council in 1990. Now, who are part of this interstate council? You should remember this is recommendatory in nature. And who are part? Prime Minister, CM of all states, Chief Minister of all UTs, Administrator of other UTs where Chief Minister is not there. Apart from that, if there is any state where President rule is imposed, now who is actually having the charges regard to administration? Governor. So in that case, Governor should be there. 6 central cabinet ministers. Out of that, 1 should be Home Minister. You can easily remember that if we are talking about dispute, and this dispute is a matter of, say, internal security, so that is why we have Home Minister. And apart from Home Minister, rest can be nominated by President. Okay, President is actually making this interstate council, and President is also nominating the other 5 central ministers. Apart from this, 5 ministers of cabinet or rank a minister of state to be permanent invitees. They are invitees. Now this council to be recommendatory body, I told you, right? And issues relating to up now, there can be one question relating to interstate, center state and center UT relations. What is going to happen? UPSC will make a statement. Say, interstate, which of the following statement is correct with regard to working of interstate council. So they may say that matters of interstate relations are only taken up. Second, matter of interstate as well as center state can be taken up. Third can say, matter of interstate, center state and center UT relations can be taken up. So answer would be third. Okay, so don't get confused that if it is interstate, the matter can be only interstate. Okay. About the council, the purpose is to coordinate, matters referred to it by chairman. Who is chairman? Prime Minister is chairman. Then all the meetings are done under a camera, in front of camera. All questions to be declared and decided by consensus. I have highlighted this because they may make a statement that there will be majority decision. And if such statement is mentioned, then you should outrightly reject it. The reason is, why in interstate council they are going to have majority, this process of majority decision? Why? This interstate council is recommendatory in nature. What is the use of having actually votes here, right? That's why consensus based. Okay, Council set up by standing committee. So they have a standing committee. The purpose of standing committee is, okay, this has been done, this has been decided. Now standing committee will ensure that whether the decisions which were taken, agreed upon, are actually in action or not. Interstate Council Secretariat was also set up in 1991, headed by Secretary of the Government of India. Now, Public Acts records judicial proceedings. I told you, one kind of dispute related to water, other with regard to subjects. I told you Interstate Water Dispute Tribunal, Interstate Council. Now there may be other dispute, like a law made by Uttar Pradesh government is not getting due respect, full faith in other parts of India, right? So in that case, what is there? Public Acts records and judicial proceedings. Jurisdiction of each state is confined to its own territory. Full faith credit clause. Territory is fine, but if any act is done within that territory and that person goes to the territory, yet that act need to be upheld, right? It need to be given full faith. Full faith and credit is to be given throughout the territory. Public Acts records throughout the territory. That is why I mentioned this example. Judicial proceedings of the center and every state. It means full faith and credit, all territory. Next, Parliament. Now, with respect to application of these laws, Parliament may actually make a law talking about the manner it is going to be accepted by other areas, manner in which it can be exercised by others as well. So it means Parliament can make a law, manner and condition in which such acts, records and proceedings are to be proved. Now the third is final judgments, orders of civil courts in any part of India are capable of execution anywhere within India. For example, if you are having some revenue matter, for example, you have forged some document, and due to this, say, Madhya Pradesh government has actually suffered a loss of say 10 crore. Now you have fled to some other territory. Now can you say that, oh, now the civil court of this district in Madhya Pradesh cannot do anything against you? No, you are mistaken, my friend. Because the power of civil court to exercise its judgment is actually anywhere in India. Okay. Now interstate issues with respect to trade. As I told you, trade is also another aspect. We talk about 301 to 307, first 301 and then exceptions. What 301 says? Freedom of trade, commerce, intercourse and guarantees freedom of all except restrictions. Means there should be freedom of trade, commerce, intercourse except some restrictions. Restrictions like 302. What it says? Power of the Parliament to impose restrictions where? With respect to any matter of public interest. For example, there is a shortage of a particular product in India and a particular state is producing it. So considering the future security of that product, Parliament may actually issue guideline that this much production should be done and proved should be submitted first into the buffer stock, right? So means any policy with respect to which is necessary for public interest, on this basis Parliament can actually make a law to impose some restriction on trade, commerce or intercourse, right? Take another example. Last year there was one point where onion prices were actually skyrocketing, right? 130 rupees kg, 150 rupees kg. So now in some areas there was enough, you can say, surplus onion, and there were the other areas where there was deficit onion. So what government did? First of all, government made a policy on banning, or you can say putting a slab on the export of onion, so that export will be limited and there will be enough supply within the India. So it means trade and commerce may be actually regulated. Then government also made a law that, oh, this much amount should be circulated in other areas through government's agency NAFED, right? So it means this can be done for public interest. This is a restriction. You cannot say, oh, we should be let free. Public interest matter. Then 303. So 303 broad headline is this: restriction on legislative power of the union and of the states with regard to trade and commerce. And real point is, Parliament and state legislature cannot give preference to one state over another. For example, Uttar Pradesh government cannot say, oh, I'm going to give preference to Uttarakhand, Madhya Pradesh and these areas, and when it comes to say Andhra or say Odisha, if their products enter into Uttar Pradesh territory, we are going to impose 30% tax? No, this cannot be done. Okay. 304. Restriction on trade and commerce and intercourse among states. What it says, a state legislature can impose reasonable restriction in public interest. So this particular provision is similar to what we discussed here in 302, means power of parliament to impose a restriction for public interest, and here power of state legislature can impose reasonable restriction in public interest. For this purpose need prior sanction of president. Please remember, if any state legislature is imposing some restriction, then prior permission of president is required, because interstate free trade is a priority mentioned by our constitution. If one state is making such policy which is against it, then president must review what reasonable restrictions you have given, right? A state legislature cannot give preference to one state over another. Discrimination between states, I told you. A state legislature can impose on goods imported in other states or UTs to any tax in which similar goods are manufactured in that state are subject, means discriminatory tax cannot be imposed, right? Like I gave you example. Now 305. So this talks about another exception. It means, although we talked about non-discriminatory nature, but if a state wants to have certain monopoly in certain section of say economy, so this can be done. Means existing laws may be there which says that, oh, with respect to say uranium, with respect to say aluminium trade, with respect to copper trade, only this PSU of government is going to participate. With respect to power generation, okay, only this PSU can participate. So if such policies are there, then you cannot say, oh, this is against freedom of trade, okay, as I mentioned in 301. No, because this is an exception. Okay. So complete partial citizen, means this kind of exception can be actually made. 306 was repealed, and 307 talks about appointment of authority for carrying out the purpose of Article 301 to 304. It means to actually ensure that there is freedom of trade and commerce, and if there are restrictions, they should be as per the exceptions which are mentioned. So there can be a authority. Who is going to create? Parliament is going to create. But till now, there is no such authority in India. Please remember it. Now talking about zonal councils, the word is zone and the other word is council. It means we are talking about group of state coming together on a particular dais. So it's a statutory body. Why? As per State Reorganization Act 1956. Please remember, UPSC can make a statement, zonal council are constitutional body. So you should remember it's a statutory body. Statutory body, why? Because it was created by an act made by Parliament. Okay, not mentioned in constitution. So we have 5 zones. Some of you might be thinking, sir, we can see there are 6 zones, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and just 6. Then why you are saying that there are 5 zones in the zonal council? There is a reason for that. Because Northeastern Council was created later and there is a separate law for that. And this zonal council has additional responsibilities too. Okay, that is why we count 5 zones here and then separate Northeastern Council. What is the purpose? Consideration while forming means why actually we created Central Zone and Northern Zone. Why have not created this as one zone? The reason is natural divisions of the country, river system means of communication, cultural linguistic affinities, requirement of economic development, security, law and order. So clearly you can remember, first is natural division, river system, culture, economic, security and law and order. So these are the 6 areas, okay, on the basis of which this creation was made. Now who are the members? Please remember, always the chairman would be Home Minister and Vice Chairman is created from one state of that zone, and this is a rotationary position held for 1 year. Okay. 2 other ministers from each states are from this zone are going to be part of zonal council, administrator of that UT which falls into this area, and advisors of zonals means these are advisors means officers to coordinate that whether the decisions which are made are being implemented or not. So now Niti Aayog, Chief Secretary of that state, defense commission means development commissioner from each state. Now, what is the purpose? Purpose to actually spur cooperation and coordination. Some of you might be thinking a lot has been done for ensuring cooperation coordination. Where we are at cooperation coordination, right? Now, objective, what is this? Integration of the country. And if after a new state is created, say Uttarakhand created from Uttar Pradesh, and now new state is facing some issues, then this can be raised at the level of this particular zonal council. After effect, right? If there is some regionalism, this linguistic, particularistic trend, then these can also be addressed if there is zonal council, which is going to represent that we all are together. Enables the center and state to cooperate with each other. I told you. Speedy execution of major development projects, secure a level of political equilibrium between different regions of the country. Political equilibrium, please remember the trend, means the word. Okay? What is the meaning of political equilibrium? That no state should actually make decisions just because of political gain. If you are in zonal council, you are accountable there. So this is the MCQ which you are going to attempt after this class. This PDF is going to be shared in the Telegram group, which I am going to show. Now, I told you, apart from zonal councils 5, we have Northeastern Council, created as per Northeastern Council Act 1971. And I told you the additional functions. Number 1, quite easy to remember, to make a unified and coordinated regional plan, and to also periodically check what measures have been taken by the governments in this area for maintaining security and law and order problem. Because you know that in Northeast, we have seen the issue of insurgency. That is why this additional layer, additional responsibility has been placed. And you know that law and order issue is also connected with the developmental outcomes. And that is why it has been mentioned. So these are the members of these councils, and these are the headquarters. You can just go through them. That's it. So I hope now this interstate relations and these aspects of interstate water dispute tribunal, interstate council, river board, zonal council, northeastern council are all clear in your mind. And the points which I highlighted as trap questions, please give due consideration to them, and you'll be confident and you'll actually mark correct answer. So this PDF is going to be available in Shashank Tyagi for you Telegram group, and you can shoot me a message if you have any doubt at any point on shashank.powerbeing. That is my personal handle. See you in the next video then. Keep learning, keep growing.
StudyIQ IAS, अब तैयारी हुई अफोर्डेबल।